Darren here, bestautodetailingtips.com, detailing made simple. We got a beautiful day here in sunny Southern California. Our test subject today is a brand new Audi Q7. Our subject today is wheel cleaning. I'm also going to address cleaning of the tires and cleaning of the wheel wells, since they're so close together and essentially connected. Okay, the problem with wheel cleaning is that there really shouldn't be a problem. It doesn't have to be overthought. The problem comes with manufacturers using advertising and marketing to keep you chasing your tail. How do they do this? Well, there's a common theme in the industry, and it's called a pH balance. It's like, okay, the pH scale, alkaline, acid. And so everything has a pH, will fall on that pH scale somewhere. But the reality is not only do most people don't even know what the pH scale is, they've only heard of the term, but they don't really understand how this applies to chemical engineering, chemistry, so on and so forth. So you'll see wheel cleaners that will talk about a pH balanced, it's safe. It's always about being safe, and that's where they apply the power of suggestion, and they create a little fear. So if you have two products that you're looking at, and of course you don't want to ruin or damage your wheels, nobody does. Certainly not a professional detailer. Certainly not on a $80,000 Q7 and a wheel that probably costs $1,700 to replace. So we all want to be safe. But is pH balance really relevant to anything? Because you will see on car soaps, on leather cleaners, leather conditioners, wheel cleaners, it's all pH balance this, pH balance that. Well, if you don't even understand what that means, then how do you know to verify if it's even relevant or not? Or is it just some marketing guy that has decided, hey, guess what? Let's put pH balance on the label. That way people will think that it's better than brand X or brand Y or brand Z. Now we can put that as pH balance. Well, guess what? Balanced is relative. So balanced according to what? Well, it would suggest that it would mean that the wheel itself has some kind of pH scale range that would be considered safe, which anything you could say that about. Your body, your skin, a plant, paint, whatever. Of course you can get extreme. But that's the problem, is that do you know what the correct pH balance is for your wheel? Okay? You don't. Just as I don't. How would you know? Because the wheel manufacturers, they're not going to tell you because they don't know themselves. All they're going to know is that there's chemicals that you could put on anything that's going to be damaging to anything if you find the right chemical. So what I'm trying to illustrate is that through the use of marketing and advertising, they will have you chasing your tail. They will get you to buy more and more products, different products, specialized products, go down the list. It does not have to be overthought. I simply take my recommendations that are taken from my 25 years of professional detailing world. So what do I use? Let's get into that. I'm going to show you the what, the how, and the why. Mostly I've just explained the why. Why do I not worry about the pH balance wheel cleaners? Because I think it's just BS. Now I know there's going to be people that watch this video that will claim up and down, left and right, that oh my gosh, it's ruined your wheel, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? I've been using this product for decades. There's a basic chemical that they use in these wheel cleaners that is an acid, which just means that on a scale of alkaline and acid, that it is over in the acid area, acid arena. But guess what? I can put it on my, people get these visions of acid where like you pour it on your skin, because they show it in the movies. You pour it on your skin starts to bubble up and blister, and the guy screams in agony because his flesh is being eaten away by this acid. Well, dismiss all those graphic images, okay? So the point is it's chemistry, chemical equations, chemical engineering. The acid will react to the brake dust, and it will break it down, and it will do a very effective and efficient job at cleaning your wheel. Now, it's safe on virtually any kind of wheel. So let me grab it, and I'll go further into explanation, and I'm going to show you the actual steps that I use. Okay, over here, I've got my Mcguire's wheel brightener. I've got it put in the container that's already pre-labeled so it doesn't get confused with other products. It's got the dilution ratio already on the bottle. Very convenient. Now, this is a concentrate like many of the other products that I recommend, specifically Mcguire's. And once again, why do I recommend Mcguire's? They're not the only product, but it's a name that's common. They've been around for like 100 years. Most people are familiar with them. They make quality products. They're not the only ones out there. I will mock them also because they use a lot of the hype and misleading, misrepresentative labeling and marketing and advertising like all the other manufacturers do. But ultimately, the products still work. So that's really all I'm concerned about. They've got a good price point. They're not inflated prices based on a name brand product. So to me, it's the winning combination. And I'm a big fan, but by no means am I their paid spokesperson, or am I incentivized to push their products versus any other products, because it doesn't matter to me. I'm just telling you what I use professionally, and I've used their products for decades now. So wheel cleaner, dilute it 4-to-1. You fill up to this line with water. You fill the rest with the concentrate. Because I go through so much of this, I actually pre-mix it in a 5-gallon dispenser drum, bucket, whatever you want to call it, and I can just fill these up daily because I use so much of it. Okay, so if you are a driveway detailer or you are a Johnny car owner and you're looking to take care of your own car, what I do is I just wet the area below the tire first. So what's going to happen is I spray this, and it's going to create a black mess wherever you're at. So if you have a mat you want to throw down, it's totally up to you. The point is that I pre-spray this. Now the good news is, after you've done cleaning your wheels and tires and you roll the car away, there will be a mark. Simply take a little bit of this, agitate it, hose it off, totally gone, no big deal. So I've got my brush. This is an amazing tool. Speedmaster, Daytona Speedmaster. Anyhow, it'll be on my website. And just to let you know, all my videos are on the fly. I don't have a script. If you want to see a script, go to my website, because I lay everything out, all the information and then some. I actually get more comprehensive on my website. It's broken down step by step. It'll talk about, my theories and my opinions on the product, why to use this product, dilution ratios. There'll be secure links. You can get your own supplies. Anyhow, this brush is way cool, very effective. It's got a rubber tip. Well, let's start with the inside. First off, it's metal on the inside, so you can actually bend it and it'll retain its shape. So if you want to get behind these spokes, you can bend it and you can get behind the spokes. Normally I don't do that. I'll show you what I do, but back to the tool. It's got a rubberized tip, so when you shove it in and out of the wheel, it's not going to do any damage to the wheel. It's got a rubberized piece here, so as you're rubbing it around and you're way deep, it's not going to do any damage here. It's got a little guard for your hand so you don't screw up your knuckles. So it's really a great tool, and one of the better things is it actually lasts. It's got all these little bristles that are completely safe. They will not scratch. I've been using this particular brush on a daily basis for over a year. So if you're a driveway detailer or just a Johnny car owner, it's going to last you for years and years. So I highly recommend this. That's based on that you actually like the inside of your wheel clean and detailed. Now, factory OE wheels, this is what's called a factory finish. It's silver. It's got two different types of silver paint on it. Actually, this is a bare aluminum or alloy. This could be magnesium. It's probably just an alloy because it's not a high-end sports car, so it's probably not a forged magnesium wheel. It's probably just a forged aluminum wheel. So this is basically a satin finish here, and then it's painted on the inside here, but then the whole wheel is clear coated. So back to my original discussion about acid. If you have all these visions of acid being poured on something and it just bubbles up and blisters and just burns a hole in it, it's just not the deal. I keep these in plastic bottles. So do the math. If I can put it in a plastic bottle, and if I can, and I'll take my glove off, I mostly just use it just to protect my hand, excuse me, so it doesn't get so dirty. But if I can use it on my hand and okay, it's not the deal. Now, of course, the directions will tell you to keep it off your hands, and I'm not advising you to, soak your hand in it or shoot it in your eye by any means. But have I ever gotten it on my hands? Yeah, absolutely. Have I ever gotten overspray in my eyes? Yes, absolutely. I can still see, okay? So it's not I'm not going to be able to spray it on something and just have it melt a hole. It just doesn't work that way. That's where you have to understand chemistry, and that's where the industry uses misleading terminology to keep you in the dark and to create a specialness to their product versus another product. So with that said, let me add a little disclaimer. This chemical will react to bare metal and bare aluminum. It will create a chemical reaction. Will it damage? Well, it depends on what you mean by damage. So in the case of wheels, this wheel is completely clear coated. This can be used on chrome wheels. I'll make another video on chrome wheels just to show you. But this is a factory OE wheel. It's got clear coat all over it, which is essentially the same clear coat that's on your paint, which I can spray this right on the paint, and I know it's not going to do any damage. It's not going to stain it. It's not going to streak it. No damage whatsoever, okay? Why? Because it's safe. There's no chemical reaction to plastic. But the calipers and the rotor, okay, if I get this rotor wet, which I will do, it's going to rust. That is normal because it's bare metal. So, in fact, that's a good illustration and a good parallel, because water is a chemical, H2O, 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. Okay, so even though it's safe for virtually everything, water is nature's most prolific solvent. It breaks things down. Unless you're a living plant or living being or animal and you need it to survive, water really is not good for most things. It rusts metals, it breaks down waxes. It really isn't good, but if you use it with understanding and you use it appropriately, it's very much needed. Okay, so this brake rotor will begin to rust just by adding water to it. That is normal. So when I clean these wheels and I hose it off and I dry them off, this rotor will be completely rusted. That's normal. The first time you get in the car and you drive away and you tap the brake pedal, it's going to clean that rotor off completely clean. So don't get all alarmed by it. Think about when you drive through water and it's raining, the same thing's going to happen. Second point, brake calipers, they're not all created equal. Some of them are powder coated, like on the Porsches, the high-end sports cars, they'll actually be powder coated a color, like typically a red or a yellow. Completely safe for it because, once again, it's safe for paint, it's safe for clear coats, But a lot of brake calipers, this one actually looks like it's painted, so it's not going to rust at all. Some of the brake calipers are made out of a cast alloy. And alloy is just a very simplistic term. It's kind of like plastic, saying, oh, it's made of plastic. Well, plastic comes in endless formulations and configurations. Just do alloys, because they're a mix of different types of metals, aluminums. It's a combination, and that's what alloy is. So some of them will react, create a chemical reaction with this chemical. So trade-offs. So to me, the trade-off is worth it, because this chemical is a superior way of cleaning your wheels, because it will react to the brake dust and clean it very easily. Now, if I had you gotta excuse my sprayer. When it comes to sprayers, you never know if you're gonna get one spray out of them or 100,000 sprays out of them, and it's just the nature of the beast. Now, I do recommend this sprayer, which you'll find on my website, because I have found that I've had the best luck with them. It is a chemical resistant sprayer, which helps a little bit, but there's still no guarantee as to how long it's going to last. Typically, I can get, months and months out of a sprayer, sometimes years and years out of a sprayer. Now, the one thing with this brush is, if you're trying to go fast, which I usually am, you can get a lot of sling. As you pull it out, these bristles will flip back and sling you and get you dirty. As you can see, my knee already, it's dirty. So I'm trying to rush, because I don't want this chemical to dry. Once it dries, you have to reactivate it by getting it wet. Anyhow, and because I'm a professional detailer, detailing means that all about the details. So I got to get up in here and get this wheel all clean all the way through. Now what I do is I reach behind these spokes and I just get them with my fingers without taking the time to bend my little handy wheel brush to get behind them. Now this is the second brush you will need to get the face, because they make special wheel lug or lug nut tools that you can get for around here. But I found that most of those break down after just a few uses, and they become just a waste of time and money. Now this brush, you'll also find it on my website, is ideal because the bristles are long enough that they can get way deep inside all these little areas, and leave it to car manufacturers to make something so intricate and complex that you can't clean it. Clearly, let me hose this off. Now right here you can see this is tire dressing from the dealership. This is the first time I've done this car. My customer just got this. This is just when they dress the tires, they got it on the wheel, and that's what that's about. And once again, this chemical doesn't even touch that, because it's not a grease cutter, okay? It's a chemical that will react to brake dust. It's very effective at removing it. If you had a pressure washer, you wouldn't even have to scrub this. You could literally just spray it and hose it with your pressure washer, and it would come clean. But because I keep things simple, and the trade-off to carry around a pressure washer in my own water is, in my world, because I have a pretty unique niche, and most of the time I'm at people's houses servicing their high-end cars, it's just not, the payoff isn't worth it for me. So, and I assume that most driveway detailers, they're just going to have a garden hose with a trigger nozzle on it. So that's why I'm showing you what I use. So this brush is ideal, and I've had this brush, I don't know how many years now, and the bristles still remain intact. They're not breaking down, they're not falling out. So it's a great tool. Now you'll notice that the lug nuts aren't even exposed. So if you had one of those lug nut tools, you wouldn't even be able to use it on this type of wheel. So ultimately, wheels are a case-by-case scenario. This brush is the winning combination for most of you. Now you'll notice that I have this brush because some rotors and calipers are so big because it's a high performance sports car or luxury sedan that this brush, even though it can be forced into a very tight spot, can still not access in between the rotor, the brake caliper and the wheel. Sometimes between the brake caliper and the wheel, there's literally a 1/4 of an inch clearance. So I have to use this brush, which is even thinner. Now this you will not be able to get online. I had to configure this myself. I wrapped it with tape so it wouldn't do any damage. But that's going to represent maybe 2% of the cases out there. For most of you, this will be ideal. These two tools will be the only tools you need. Okay, the wheel is clean. Now I use my Mcguire Super Degreaser and I degrease the tire because it has dressing on it. And this is why I'm not a fan of oil-based or silicone-based dressings. You know, those special dressings that are supposed to last forever. And that's another marketing moment that people become fixated on because they think, oh, I want something that lasts the longest. Well, the only way they're going to do that is make a product that does not break down by chemicals or water easily. Unfortunately, dressing is meant as a visual enhancement. Yes, does it nourish the tire, blah, 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 yeah, but for the most part, most of you are going to dress your tires because you like the way it looks. But don't become fixated on buying a product that lasts the longest because that's going to create a problem for you because it's going to be difficult to remove and you want to remove it each time so that you can apply a new layer each time. Because what will happen is if it's a silicone base or an oil based dressing that's resistant to breaking down, and typically you'll find them with the ultra shiny formulations, is that you will not be able to clean off the dressing each time. The dirt will accumulate in the seams. Over time you'll get this brown, grunge, sloppy, greasy layer on the tire that it'll be so difficult to remove. So I'm a fan of water-based dressings. I happen to use hyper dressing from Mcguire's. Once again, there's that Mcguire's again. But once again, they make products that actually work. Now, wheel wells. I will shoot some degreaser up in the wheel well. You can use a wheel well brush to scrub it. These wheel wells are actually coated or made with like a felt type padding material. That's the latest and greatest when it comes to these high-end cars. Your car probably is just metal, bare metal. And so the degreaser and a brush will work ideal inside that. This felt stuff, they probably do it so it stays looking black most of the time and maybe as a little bit of a sound insulator. I don't really know. Maybe it's just the trend because everyone tries to stay relevant as they can. That was relevant, not irrelevant. So that's why marketing guys and advertising guys are constantly coming up with ways to make the company that they represent as relevant as possible, ahead of the curve, the leader of the pack, call it what you want. That's why we have things like pH scale that most people don't understand. They create a element of doubt or fear. It's like, oh my gosh, this wheel cleaner doesn't say pH balance, but this one does. Well, I don't really know what it means, but just in case, I better buy the one that says pH balance, because of course I want the proper pH balance for my wheel that I don't even know what the proper pH balance would be, never mind understanding the pH scale to begin with. So it's endless. There's a lot of hype, a lot of misrepresentation in every industry. Detailing and car care is no exception. So now we have our clean wheel. At this point, I'm going to use my leaf blower because I don't carry a big air compressor with me. If you have one at home, good for you. If you're a professional detailer or want to be one, don't overthink it. Just get a leaf blower, blow this off, wipe it down, and you're done. You're good to go. It's perfectly detailed inside here. This product works wonders. I've used this product on wheels for 10, 15 years. Never had a problem. It's not going to do any damage. If anything were to happen, it's not because of this. I have seen the clear coats on these just deteriorate over time, just as it does on a car. And it has nothing to do with the wax or anything else. It has to do with the original formulation of the clear coat. You can't control that part. You have no idea how thick the clear coat is, just like you have no idea how thick the clear coat is on this paint. You're never going to find that out from a car manufacturer. The only way you'd be able to find that out is to sand it and measure it. Because when you use a measuring gauge to measure the thickness of your paint, it's measuring everything. It's not measuring how thick the clear coat is or how thick the base coat is or any of the other stuff. It's measuring the total thickness. So you have no idea how thick the actual clear coat is, just like you would have no idea how thick it is on this. Although if you were to use it on this gauge, now that I think about it, because this would be bare metal and nothing but a clear coat, you actually could tell how thick it is, which I don't know why you would need to. Point is the product's safe. You don't need to worry about it. I've been using it for decades. Okay, end of discussion. Hope I covered everything. You may have a caliper that will get a little rust on it. If it bugs you, take your wheel off, clean it, rattle can it, paint it black, whatever. Then it won't rust. But to me, it's a worthy trade-off because it's so effective at cleaning the brake dust off the wheels. And most of my customers anyways, are not going to get down here and look inside here to check the health of their brake caliper. So, and it's just a chemical reaction. It's not doing any damage. It's just literally a chemical reaction. Okay, I wanted to zoom in so you could see. Let's see if it captures it. You see the rust on the rotor. That is called the brake rotor. And that in here is called the brake caliper, with a P as in Peter. Anyhow, so we have our rust going on. The wheel is 99% perfect right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to simply, well, let's just do it. Okay, the key is in it. All I'm going to do, I've already detailed the inside of this. So the inside is perfect. I'm just going to pull forward apply the brakes, put in reverse, make sure no one's behind me suddenly, apply the brakes, pump them a few times so as to really grab them, and then I'm going to get out. And this is what I do at the end of my detail session anyways. And now we have the same brake rotor, perfectly clean. All the brake dust is off of it, and occasionally this will be thick enough, the layer of rust that accumulates, that now there'll be a dusting of brake dust around the wheel. So that's why I do that first before I completely finish this wheel, even though probably at this angle and on the video it will look 100%. I can still see a view, or I can still see a view trace marks that are not 100% perfect. So now that I've knocked off the brake dust, or I'm sorry, the what's it called? Rust, brake dust, rust. Now that I've broken off the rust off the rotor, now I can finish the wheel to 100%. Okay, Darren here, good morning. Another edition of How to Take Care of Wheels. I've talked extensively about the Mcguire's wheel brightener. It is an acid base. Now I showed this in the other video, but here we have the wheel that has already been cleaned and is the front wheel. And if you have a foreign car, you will notice that if you make a comparison, that your foreign car seems to sling like 5 times as much brake dust as domestic cars. What I want to highlight here, if you notice that the rotor is completely rusted, as I pointed out, that's a simple reaction of water to bare metal. But this caliper is what I really wanted to show, because you can see a little bit of rust inside here. And the rest of, because this is just a cast metal caliper piece with some painted and clear coated covers over it, hence the AMG. So for the most part, 90% of this caliper from a viewing distance looks fine. But as I was saying, that acid will react to bare metals. And in this case, we have the caliper that shows some signs of rust. And as I said in my other videos, I had one customer over the past 25 years that have ever even noticed that. As a rule, it's just not an issue. Most people really do not have a discerning eye or a critical eye to know that. If that is problematic in your world, then yes, that's where you're going to go with a wheel cleaner. And it doesn't have to be pH balanced, by the way. That's still a bunch of BS. You just find a wheel cleaner that is generic. It's a retail product, and it will say it's safe for all types of wheels. And it will have no harsh chemicals. It will not be acid based. It will not be alkaline based. It will basically be mostly neutral, because it's just going to be a glorified cleaner that has a color to it, some probably cool packaging, whatever. So if that's an issue for you, then fine, don't use it. Also, I think I addressed it, but since it is a chemical and it will react to bare metals, you do not want to use it on bare aluminum, whether it's billet aluminum, cast aluminum, or forged aluminum. It will cause a chemical reaction. It will turn it into a satin finish. It will kind of foam up and turn white first. If you go to my website, you can see, I show you an actual picture, because in the pictures I show a before. It's on a billet wheel, by the way. I show the before, during, and after. So I show the wheel that's polished, but not as good as it can get. I show the wheels that's foaming up because I've sprayed the wheel cleaner on it. And then I show the after result after I've polished it to perfection, and it looks like chrome. So it does serve a purpose, but you just need to be aware of that variable.